right, buddy, it's Tyler here at the Las Vegas Regional, and we're checking in. It's team number 7426. It's Paradise Robotics. This team already with a win under their belt at Arizona North. Congratulations on that. One of our locks here at the Las Vegas Regional. And you guys are also competing in week 7 as well, too. So you guys get a lot of practice in before the World Championship. This team here overall, fantastic shoot on the moon capabilities. You really got to check out how that's been working out for them. But the hopper extends out, able to keep about 40 plus fuel inside of this robot here, and just overall very impressive. Some great 3D printing that we'll be highlighting on this robot, a bit more how their Limelights and Vision all come together. So let's learn more about them here on Behind the Bumpers. Eli, let's start talking about your robot here with your intake. You got the great expanding intake for that larger capacity, so talk to me more about it.
All right, so our intake, it extends our hopper, which is pulled in by some surgical tube on both sides and held on by 200-pound door frames. It's completely independent from our intake, and it works together to make our hopper extend super nicely. So our intake is made just 2 pivots powered by 2 Kraken X60s with a 5-to-1. You can see kind of through the hopper, chain driven. It'll articulate up and down throughout the match. So what we found was the best and grippiest material is these silicone rollers. I'm gonna bring it up here. These silicone rollers that cover a polycarb roller. They super grippy. We can pick up 4 balls at once. That's what I'm trying to say. So 4 balls at once, and it doesn't even slow down during auto. What I really like about our intake is the material we used. We made this intake as strong as possible. It is made of 70-75 aluminum and has withstanded dozens of hits and survived an entire regional with no bends. Another way we prioritize stability is with our dead axle. We have a dead axle pivot. We have dead axle pivot for the joint, and we also have dead axle rollers and roughly 6 shafts, 6 churros that cross the length of the intake, all for stability. We also have a kicker that's spring-loaded, which we kind of sampled it. It hides behind our hopper until we extend, and we really like it. It gives a lot of compression on the balls, and it really helps us intake them faster. So.
Before we get to our next segment, we'd like to thank the following. As you're getting ready for the competition season, think AndyMark as your one-stop shop for all your team needs. AndyMark's Launcher in a Box is a configurable solution that so many teams are finding success with for the rebuilt season. Also available at AndyMark.com, the AMPD AndyMark power distribution board that provides 24 40-amp independently fused output channels for safe, reliable power distribution. That's AndyMark.com.
And Tanner, can we talk more about the hopper and how it all comes together? So you have a team that, you're taking up a decent amount of space with your turret, right? So you got to make more room for that hopper capacity. So just walk me through how you guys came up with utilizing this.
At the start of the season, we came together with what we had to have and what we wanted to have on our robot. So one of the things that we really wanted was to have a turret to be able to shoot on the move. But one of the biggest sacrifices was hopper space. And so we chose to go under the trench, and we made that compromise with our extending hopper, which extends just to the limit of 12 inches. And so with our configuration right now, we can hold about 40 balls, and we can shoot them out at about 8 balls per second. And so our robot obviously can't hold much, so we can't do like a full field cycle. So we prioritize shooting on the move, which means that we need to always be able to get the balls in and out really fast so we can keep going. And so starting with just the build of the hopper, we used polycarbonate, 1/8-inch polycarbonate plates so that we could keep the balls in there without worrying about flex in the hopper. And as the balls move in, they kind of sit on these belts, which recently we added a big spacing for a ball to slide right through. And so we get the balls in through our intake, and then they kind of just rest in here. And then the balls go right onto these belts and they are fed straight into the throat of our robot and then out of the shooter. And we also added this kind of helicopter agitator, which spins around. And so when the balls are resting in there, they really like to stack up and not go through, or they like to kind of sit in there in a spot where we can't get them out of the robot really, really fast. And so we've added this to spin around. And so it spins very fast, and it kind of knocks all the balls and just jostles them all around so that they can go through the shooter very smooth and get us to shoot as many balls as we can in our shifts.
And when we were talking earlier, you said you were still looking at doing some more future improvements as you go into week 7 and championships. What are you looking at doing?
So one of the more recent improvements that we've thought about doing is having 2 agitators, or more of a linear agitation. So instead of just one spinning around and allowing 4 balls to kind of get stuck over here or find a special spot where they don't want to move around, we've chosen to start prototyping little rollers that stand on the sides of our tower and kind of agitate the balls in a way where they push in and then through, instead of just moving around in a non-specific direction.
Tim, your team has been absolutely locked on in terms of scoring. Very accurate robot that you have here so far. Can you just tell me more about what your turret's comprised of and why you've been so successful with it?
So our turret is a 1/2-inch plate that has been cut by a 1/4 inch, so we could fit this 1/8 polycarbonate plate, so that our energy chain here, which is custom made, because at the start of the season we tried using the West Coast product energy chain, so we designed and CAD'd our own energy chain that has that could fit a smaller radius. So our turret can turn 370 degrees counterclockwise, a little less if we were going clockwise. And then not only that, this is our 4th iteration shooter, which has backspin wheels. At the start of the season, we tried going after the adjustable hood, but the adjustable hood required absolute encoder, and we figured that having that excess amount of wiring wasn't good enough, and that if we're trying, the best scenario was to just simplify it. We directly coupled 2 Kraken X60s so that our robot could spin 45 RPS, and not only that, we have 1 3/8 amount of compression just so that the ball could get the right amount of backspin compression, and just so we could perfect that shot. During Arizona, we didn't include these backspin wheels, so whenever we tried to feed, it would go back right into the neutral zone. We fixed this by adding these rollers, which provided a much clearer feed, a much better stream, and a more consistent shot.
Overall, your team, as you mentioned, has been very, very accurate so far. As you look at math strategy, you might have to sacrifice a little bit of BPS, or maybe sacrifice a little bit of hopper strength. Do you think the accuracy really does make up for that?
I think the accuracy is by far one of the most important parts, because if we're making every single shot, we're making it. And even if we have the hopper space, if we have less accuracy overall, the ball's getting into the ball's getting scored isn't really going to make up for it. So just having that accurate shot and that consistency really makes us stick out, and allows us to survive.
Before we get to our next segment, we'd like to thank the following. Build your alliance with so many other FIRST alumni who go to Kettering University. Every student at Kettering experiences their cutting-edge co-op programs that seamlessly blend the professional and academic worlds. Kettering co-ops are a fully immersive working experience at the leading edge of industry. Head on over to kettering.edu/first to learn more about their incredible programs and to get more information.
One of the other things that I think makes your team stick out too is the 3D printed stuff that you have on your robot. So let's bring in Nathan and talk more about just some of the different 3D printed aspects you have, and talk more about both the functionality and also the aestheticness of it too.
Yeah, so we use 3D prints in nearly all of our subsystems, with the only exception being the climber. And starting with the intake, we use these 3D prints in all of our pulleys, which on the bottom roller we'll use 22 tooth to connect between each of the rollers. And then we use 23 tooth to actually use a belt and connect to the pivot and our gear, which will power the entire system. And then moving on to our hopper system, we'll use pulleys, which are all 22 tooth on both the dead axle and axle side of our feeder system, allowing for easy changes within any differences we find throughout the season. And additionally, we use these connectors, which are just printed out standard PLA, to connect all the different plates within the hopper. And we found that some filaments do work better than others depending on the application that's required. So these may be standard PLA, but many of the pulleys within our index, we found a specialized filament called PAHT-CF, which is a carbon fiber composite, which has significantly better layer adhesion and overall compressive strength. And we've had no issues with breaking when we switched over to this new filament. And moving over to our actual Limelight mount that's also 3D printed and designed in-house, and allows us to have full field pose within this only stand. And moving back over to the shooter, we actually have a custom designed and fabricated E-chain, which is 3D printed out of standard PLA, which is awesome because we were able to customize the mobility of the E-chain. And as you can see here, like there's a lot of mobility and rotation that's required in such a small gap, and we found that standard IGUS chains wouldn't work with the situation, along with the fact that we had limited option due to the actual stock that we could find online. So we switched over to 3D printed. We've gone through many iterations and ended on this final design, and we have full rotation either way with very few issues with actual braking, and if there are any, it's relatively easy to repair. And moving on to the main shooter, we use a mixture of 3D printed and aluminum pulleys on the back rollers here. And we started off with aluminum pulleys because they obviously allow for a lot more rigidity and less likelihood of breaking. But we ended up switching to one side only, being the 3D printed, because we wanted to be able to customize the belt size, because we were having some issues with the belts being a little too loose and then a little too tight. And this really allowed for that customization to occur. And we use the rollers here, and then we use another 3D printed pulley here to connect the entire system together. And then the final piece that we have 3D printed within this robot is a backplate for our shooter, which really, the main reasoning for it is we had an issue with balls getting stuck in the back here. And when our turret turns, it would have some issues with hitting our Limelight or even jamming our shooter, so we couldn't rotate our turret. So that was a really key difference that we made later on in the season that really was a simple solution to a complicated problem.
Nathan, as we wrap up on this robot here, let's talk about some of the pose and estimation that your team is doing and how all that comes together. As we mentioned before, accuracy is such a critical aspect for your team. So walk me through what are some of the key aspects of getting there?
Yep, so we knew that one of the main things that we would have to do this year is essentially get shoot on the move working with this turret. So by default, we knew that we had to use some Limelight 4s and use some pose estimation in order to get ourselves around the point to where we could shoot accurately. And so we did lots of iterations, and we found that we want to basically reduce our blind spots. So that's why we have this little trifold setup right here, where it's only about 36-degree blind spot everywhere else, because the Limelights have around an 82-degree field of view. So having these small blind spots allows us to see so many tags on the field, and it allows us to accurately use MegaTag 2 to estimate our pose. And then, now that we knew our pose, we knew that we'd have to calculate the turret and calculate how much we'd need to move the turret while we were moving the robot. So one of the biggest things, now that we had our pose, is we know where the robot is and we know where the turret is. So we established those two as our constants, and basically we're tracking the speed of the robot, we're establishing what direction it's moving in, we're establishing the time of flight of the ball with manually collected data, and that is able to allow us to calculate how much we need to move the turret to the left or to the right while we're moving in order to in order to aim at the hub. And our shooter has the exact same mechanism as well. We need to calculate how far away we are from the hub, we need to calculate how far we're moving from the hub, and the shooter also has that same mechanism, but we've also manually tuned our shots with the flywheel in order to have shots towards the hub and also have feeding shots that we're able to consistently feed towards our zone so that our drivers can just stay in the back and shoot in the move in the back.
Well, Paradise Robotics, congratulations. Another great start to your season. We can't wait to see how you continue on throughout the rest of the time. And thanks for telling us more about your robot. Good luck here in Las Vegas.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and click the bell to stay up to date on future fun videos. Build your alliance with so many other FIRST alumni who go to Kettering University. Every student at Kettering experiences their cutting-edge co-op programs that seamlessly blend the professional and academic worlds. Kettering co-ops are a fully immersive working experience at the leading edge of industry. Head on over to kettering.edu/first to learn more about their incredible programs and to get more information. As you're getting ready for the competition season, think AndyMark as your one-stop shop for all your team needs. AndyMark's Launcher in a Box is a configurable solution that so many teams are finding success with for the rebuilt season. Also available at AndyMark.com, the AMPD AndyMark power distribution board that provides 24 40-amp independently fused output channels for safe, reliable power distribution. That's AndyMark.com.